Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're stepping right into this incredibly high-stakes intersection of climate action, cutting-edge technology, and institutional-grade finance. We are looking deep into carbon credit verification protocols specifically designed for large-scale mangrove reforestation infrastructure blueprints. It's a massive topic, and honestly, it's literally reshaping global markets as we speak. So think about this for a second. What if the world's coastlines were more than just scenery, but the most secure bank accounts on the planet? We are unlocking the trillion-dollar potential of blue carbon by turning mangrove reforestation into a high-precision, bankable asset. Using advanced remote sensing and rigorous soil sampling, we've built the exact blueprint for institutional-grade verification. Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting on 1, the blue carbon opportunity, 2, the verification bottleneck, 3, cutting-edge tech solutions, 4, rewriting the rulebook, and finally, 5, the 2026 financial landscape. Section 1, the blue carbon opportunity. We've got to completely reframe how we think about our coastal ecosystems. We aren't just talking about a nice conservation effort here. We are talking about a massive financial asset. Just look at this number, 400,000. According to World Bank reports, that is the exact target in hectares of mangroves slated for restoration by 2030. That's not just some weekend tree planting exercise, right? That is a massive continent-spanning infrastructure blueprint. Mangroves are basically some of the most carbon-dense ecosystems on the planet, which makes them an incredibly potent tool in our climate strategy. But, as you can imagine, managing an asset of this size requires unprecedented precision. And here's exactly why getting that precision is so notoriously difficult. Mangrove carbon pools are incredibly complex. You've got your above-ground and below-ground biomass constantly competing with soil, organic, and inorganic carbon. It's like a giant, shifting puzzle. These pools are in constant flux, from biomass growth, natural decay, and surface gas exchange with the surrounding waters. Trying to accurately measure this constant shift, it's a high-stakes challenge that has historically completely stumped the market. Which brings us to Section 2, the verification bottleneck. Let's look at how this builds into the real struggles we're seeing in the global carbon market today. Corporate buyers and institutional investors desperately want nature-based credits. We're talking things like the UN's REDD+ forest conservation framework and huge reforestation projects. In fact, based on a Q2 2025 survey, a full 55% of them view these as highly credible. But, and this is a massive but, their trust and more importantly their capital hinges entirely on strong MRV, or monitoring, reporting, and verification. The exact roadblocks holding back all that institutional capital? Well, they stem from a fundamentally broken value chain. The primary hurdles we're seeing are quality concerns, integrity issues, and severe fraud risks tied to audit constraints. Think about it. When buyers can't absolutely verify that a ton of carbon is permanently stored in a mangrove swamp halfway across the world, the financing just completely dries up. No trust, no capital. All right, moving on to Section 3, cutting-edge tech solutions. Now, this is where the story shifts. The carbon market has long struggled with trust, but we have finally solved the verification bottleneck for large-scale blue carbon projects. By integrating precise infrastructure blueprints with evolving international standards, we've created a transparent roadmap for massive mangrove recovery. Satellite data and soil organic carbon metrics are colliding right now to revolutionize ecological restoration through DMRV, that stands for Digital Monitoring, Reporting, and Verification Systems, which automate the entire data pipeline. Look, in 2026, transparency is literally the only currency that matters in the global carbon market. If you can't digitally monitor and remotely verify a project's impact with absolute, undeniable certainty, it is simply no longer an investable asset. So the crucial point is how these new methodologies actually play out in the field. Let's take the recent methodology developed by ForAlliance and the Gold Standard. It elegantly synchronizes 3 specific steps to overcome the incredibly difficult physical access of a dense mangrove forest. First up, it deploys advanced remote sensing for above-ground biomass. Next, it tightly couples that remote data with targeted ground-based sampling. And finally, it applies strict quantification of soil organic carbon, or SOC. Our technical framework completely synchronizes real-time remote sensing with international regulatory protocols. It aggressively accounts for all project emissions and potential leakage using highly conservative calculations. And crucially, it isolates only the autochthonous pools. That's just a fancy way of saying the carbon actually generated inside the ecosystem itself for true soil organic carbon accounting. You'll discover how our rigorous verification protocols turn ecological data into a gold standard climate solution, ensuring every single seedling planted as a verified, auditable step toward climate stability. That leads us right into Section 4, Rewriting the Rulebook. Because honestly, having the best technology in the world doesn't matter one bit if the global regulatory standards don't recognize it. And the absolute biggest regulatory headache right now is the risk of double counting. We absolutely have to prevent a scenario where the exact same carbon removal is claimed twice, once by a private corporation in their voluntary ESG reporting, and simultaneously by a host country in their National Determined Contributions, or NDC reporting. If that happens, the accounting is artificially inflated and market integrity just completely collapses. The way out of this mess is re-architecting the carbon market using blockchain as a public market infrastructure. Think of it like a universally shared ledger, rather than everyone stubbornly keeping their own separate offline spreadsheets. We need a dedicated synchronization layer. This layer links corporate credit retirements directly with registry states and sovereign government ledgers. By setting it up this way, corresponding adjustments and claim rights are flawlessly and instantly represented across every single system at the exact same time. Poof, no more double counting. And the good news is, major regulatory bodies are actively revising their protocols right now to allow for exactly this. The Verified Carbon Standard, or VCS, is updating frameworks like their RED Plus methodology. Meanwhile, the Gold Standard is heavily initiating DMRV integration, and the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is actually out there commissioning blueprints for system-wide certification. Regulators are finally catching up to the tech. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, the 2026 financial landscape. Okay, so we've seen the environmental need, the tech solution, and the regulatory alignment. Now, let's look at how all of this shapes today's institutional investment realities. In April 2026, the World Economic Forum released a landmark report titled Turning the Tide. This really established the ultimate financial authority on the matter and explicitly highlighted the rapidly rising quality thresholds for blue carbon projects. The market is maturing incredibly fast, and the scrutiny from investors has quite literally never been higher. The WEF report brilliantly breaks down 4 specific pathways for financiers to integrate blue carbon right into their core strategies. You've got direct trading of sustainability credits, offsetting heavy supply chains like fast-moving consumer goods plastics, treating mangroves directly as protective coastal infrastructure, and utilizing them as natural risk mitigation for the insurance sector. It's a fantastic multi-pronged approach. But make no mistake, mangrove finance is intensely demanding today. Creating a true gold standard asset requires moving way, way beyond the outdated mentality of just treating local stakeholders as passive beneficiaries. Investors require strict scrutiny of land rights, they demand deep partnerships with local land stewards, and they need absolute commercial readiness before a single dollar is deployed. Which brings us to our final thought. The ecosystem is primed. The technology is verified. The regulators are aligned. With the verification bottleneck finally solved, how will you leverage this trillion-dollar infrastructure blueprint in your own sustainability or investment strategies? If you found this update helpful, please hit the like button and share this explainer with fellow entrepreneurs. For more deep dives into the latest environmental regulations and industrial news, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. See you in the next one.